The figure of the evil genius is a cornerstone of our fiction. From Professor Moriarty to Hannibal Lecter, we are captivated by the idea of a brilliant mind untethered from morality, a mind that uses its immense power not to create, but to corrupt, control, and destroy. We watch these characters from the safe distance of a screen, but we have to ask the question, do such people exist in the real world? The answer, disturbingly, is yes. History is filled with individuals who possessed formidable intellects, a genius for organization, science, or strategy, but who lack the most crucial human component, empathy. When a high IQ is paired with a psychopathic disregard for others, the results can be catastrophic. These are not your typical villains, they are architects of suffering, methodical and often brilliant in their malevolence. Today, we are venturing into the darkest corners of history to explore this chilling combination. It is important to state up front that a formal psychological diagnosis of historical figures is impossible. We use the term psychopath to describe a pattern of behavior characterized by a profound lack of empathy, manipulativeness, and a remorseless pursuit of power, based on detailed historical accounts. This is our list of 10 of the most evil geniuses in history. Number 10. Fritz Haber, the Nobel Prize winner who weaponized the air we breathe. Fritz Haber was a German chemist of breathtaking brilliance. He won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for co-inventing the Haber-Bosch process, a method for synthesizing ammonia from nitrogen and hydrogen gas. This invention has been credited with feeding billions of people, pulling fertilizer literally out of thin air. A true hero, right? But Haber had another side. During World War I, he poured his genius into creating chemical weapons. He was the driving force behind Germany's chlorine and mustard gas attacks, personally overseeing their deployment. He argued that chemical warfare was a more humane way to end the war quickly. His intellect created a tool that saved billions, and a weapon that choked thousands to death. He is the ultimate paradox of scientific genius, divorced from morality. Number 9. H. Holmes, America's first celebrity serial killer. Herman Webster Mudgett, better known as H. Holmes, was a con artist and killer of cunning intelligence. His genius was not in science, but in architecture and manipulation. During the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, he designed and built a hotel that was later dubbed the Murder Castle. It was a masterpiece of malevolent design. The building was a labyrinth of windowless rooms, secret passages, trapdoors, and stairways to nowhere. Rooms were equipped with gas lines so he could asphyxiate his guests. He had kilns in the basement to dispose of the bodies. Holmes's brilliance was in creating an entire factory for murder, a perfectly efficient system for luring, killing, and profiting from his victims. Number 8. Trofim Lysenko, the biologist who starved millions. Lysenko was a Soviet biologist who rejected mainstream genetics in favor of his own pseudoscientific theories. He was a master manipulator, not a master scientist. He used his political connections and charismatic personality to rise to the head of Soviet agriculture under Joseph Stalin. His fraudulent ideas, such as the belief that crops could be taught to grow in different seasons, were implemented across the Soviet Union and China. The results were catastrophic. His unscientific farming techniques led to widespread crop failures and famines that caused the deaths of millions of people. Lysenko's genius was in propaganda and political survival, and he used it to destroy legitimate science and countless human lives. Number 7. Klaus Barbie, the Butcher of Lyon. Klaus Barbie was a high-ranking Nazi SS officer. His particular genius was in the art of counterintelligence, interrogation, and psychological torture. As the head of the Gestapo in Lyon, France, he was methodical, patient, and chillingly creative in his cruelty. He personally tortured captured French resistance fighters, including their leader Jean Moulin. His methods were designed for maximum pain and psychological collapse. After the war, his expertise was so valued that he was recruited by U.S. intelligence agencies to work as an anti-communist spy in South America. He was a master of a dark craft, an intelligent man who dedicated his entire mind to the deconstruction of other human beings. Number 6. Lavrentiy Beria, Stalin's architect of terror. Lavrentiy Beria was the most ruthless and arguably the most intelligent of Joseph Stalin's secret police chiefs. He was a master of organization, espionage, and political intrigue. Beria was the man who oversaw the vast Gulag system of labor camps, managing it with terrifying efficiency. He was instrumental in the Great Purge, organizing the arrests, tortures, and executions of hundreds of thousands of people. He also supervised the Soviet atomic bomb project, using his intelligence and utter ruthlessness to manage scientists and spies alike. He was a predator with a brilliant mind, a man who saw the entire Soviet state as his personal hunting ground. Number 5. Maximilien Robespierre, the intellectual behind the Reign of Terror. Robespierre was one of the most powerful and intelligent figures of the French Revolution. A brilliant lawyer and orator, he was known as the Incorruptible for his unwavering dedication to his vision of a virtuous republic. But that vision had no room for dissent. As the leader of the Committee of Public Safety, he became the architect of the Reign of Terror. He used his immense intellect to justify mass executions by the guillotine, arguing that terror was a necessary tool to forge a new nation. He created a system where patriotism was measured by a willingness to denounce one's neighbors. His genius for rhetoric and political theory was used to build a scaffold for thousands. Number 4. Adolf Eichmann, the logistical genius of the Holocaust. Adolf Eichmann was not a rabid, screaming Nazi. He was a quiet, efficient bureaucrat. His genius was logistical. He was the man tasked with organizing the transportation of millions of Jews from across Europe to the death camps. He was a master of timetables, train schedules, and resource management. At his trial, the philosopher Hannah Arendt wrote about the banality of evil, describing Eichmann not as a monster, but as a terrifyingly normal man who simply did his job with remarkable skill. His brilliance was in creating a perfectly organized assembly line of mass murder, treating human beings as mere numbers on a ledger. Number 3. Shiro Ishii, the commander of Unit 731. Shiro Ishii was a microbiologist and lieutenant general in the Imperial Japanese Army. His genius was in the field of biological warfare. As the commander of Unit 731 during World War II, he conducted some of the most horrific human experiments in history. He subjected prisoners of war and civilians to vivisections without anesthesia, infected them with diseases like plague and cholera to study their effects, and tested biological weapons on entire Chinese villages. Ishii's scientific mind was completely devoid of empathy. He saw human beings as nothing more than raw material for his research. After the war, he was granted immunity by the United States in exchange for his data. Number 2. Grigory Rasputin, the master of manipulation. Rasputin was not an intellectual in the traditional sense, but he possessed a genius for psychological manipulation. This illiterate Siberian peasant managed to infiltrate the highest levels of Russian society, becoming the personal healer and advisor to the family of Tsar Nicholas II. He mesmerized the Tsarina Alexandra, using his hypnotic presence and uncanny intuition to gain immense power. He could read people's desires and fears, and he exploited them masterfully. While not directly responsible for mass murder like others on this list, his corrupting influence destabilized the entire Russian government, helping to pave the way for the revolution and the immense bloodshed that followed. He was an evil genius of the soul. And now, our number 1 entry, a man whose name has become synonymous with medical evil. Number 1. Joseph Mengele, the Angel of Death. Dr. Joseph Mengele was a German SS officer and physician at the Auschwitz concentration camp. He held PhDs in both anthropology and medicine. He was a genuine, published scientist with a brilliant academic mind. But at Auschwitz, he used his medical knowledge to perform grotesque and sadistic experiments on prisoners. He was obsessed with twins and dwarves, subjecting them to horrific procedures without anesthesia. He would inject diseases and chemicals into people just to observe the results. He had the power of life and death at the camp's selection ramp, and he often made his decisions with a flick of his wrist and a cold smile. Mengele represents the ultimate perversion of intelligence, a brilliant mind that saw human suffering not as a tragedy, but as an opportunity for research. From science and politics to architecture and war, it is a chilling reminder that intelligence is merely a tool. It is a powerful amplifier. When combined with empathy, compassion, and a strong moral code, it can uplift humanity. But when paired with psychopathy, narcissism, and a lust for power, it becomes the most destructive force on earth. The most dangerous people in history were not the unintelligent brutes. They were the brilliant minds who knew exactly what they were doing. What do you think is more dangerous, power without intelligence, or intelligence without empathy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If this dark journey into history was thought-provoking, please give it a like and subscribe to High IQ Society for more explorations of the human mind.